if you're buying furniture before you're doing a floor plan, you're doing it backwards. And that's why the things you're buying might not work in your space. There's a myth that design is innate and it can't be something that you learn. But everyone who knows how to do it learned how to do it. And you can too. Good design comes from following a process. And that 3-step process is something that you can do for yourself. And if we haven't met, I'm Andrea, a virtual designer, and I'm going to walk you through the 3-step process that I use when I work on client projects. So I'm not saying no one should hire a designer, obviously. It's a way to save time and sometimes even money. But you don't have to use a professional designer if you have the interest in doing it yourself. We're going to start with this dining room, and here's the before shot of it. The dining room does have a path of travel right through the side of it because it's where the entry is. It's the only place to put a dining table in this case. And because of the shape of the space and because there's a travel path right through the dining room, a lot of times a round table can work, especially one that has a leaf in it so you can expand it, and that's what we decided to do in this case. We also wanted a piece of furniture right at the entry to catch things that come in, like keys and purses and coats. You can't see it, but on the other side of the door is a coat rack. So it's a good idea to have these things in your entry. Now let's talk about the living room floor plan. They did not need a place to watch television in their living room. They wanted their living room to primarily be used for entertaining. So we really wanted to focus the seating around a good conversation space. Once you don't have to worry about the television watching aspect of the space, it really makes a living room much easier to design around conversation. We did use the fireplace as the focal point, and there is a path of travel in this living room too because the entry is on one side of the living room. Now let's talk about step 2, because step 1, the floor planning, is pretty easy, but it's still a good idea to stick your pieces into a floor planning software. You can either do it on a piece of paper using a downloadable template that I have linked below, or you can do it in a free software package called Floor Planner. And what this can really help you to do is 2 things. It can help you to try out the size of the large pieces that you buy, like the sofa and a dining room table. And it can also help you to really judge what size rug you need, because these things are big, heavy, and hard to return. So it's a really good idea to know that you're getting the right size before you go shopping. Now let's talk about the inspiration for these 2 rooms. Both people said they wanted a Ralph Lauren kind of aesthetic. So what does that mean? Well, I talked about that in this video here. In the living room, they wanted to use a lot of neutrals with some greens, and they wanted it to have a really layered, rich look to it. Both these rooms are in newer homes that maybe don't have the same character as some of the Ralph Lauren examples. There's no wood paneling, there's no giant windows, there's no fancy woodwork, but you can still get that look by doing a few things that I'm going to show you in the next part of the process. So the inspiration for both spaces is more of a Ralph Lauren aesthetic. That's how they both described it. The dining room, they wanted a lot of neutrals with touches of black. And because they felt the space was really cold, they really wanted to warm it up with a lot of fabrics and a lot of different textures. Number 1 is the floor plan, and number 2 is the inspiration. And number 3 is the mood board, where you put the first 2 pieces together and try out the pieces in a mood board to see how they work together. So I'm going to show you the mood board for the living room, and we'll walk through the different parts that give it that Ralph Lauren aesthetic. First is the layered rugs. A lot of Ralph Lauren rooms have layered rugs because the more textures you can get into the space, the better. So we did layer a natural sisal rug under a more expensive patterned rug. We kept the furniture pretty neutral with a cream colored sofa and 2 leather chairs, and the one accent chair, the green chair, kind of ties into the green that's around in some of the other fabrics. So on the windows, we used a really rich green velvet curtain, but you'll also see there's a lot of texture. There's multiple throw rugs in the room and lots of different pillows. So we're really building in lots of different textures in the space. Now let's talk about the artwork. there is a lot of artwork. There's artwork on multiple walls. So that's another thing that you see in a lot of Ralph Lauren spaces. And there's a lot of mood lighting. There's sconces on the fireplace. There's lamps, floor lamps in the room, in addition to the overhead lighting, which was already there. So you really want to bring in the additional accent lights to give it more of a moody, cozy feeling that you want. We used a lot of books in the decor, a few plants. We used some sculptural pieces on the coffee table and the fireplace to really give it a really layered feel. Now let's talk about how we did that in the dining room. First of all, we chose some upholstered chairs in addition to wood chairs. We did get a total of 6 chairs for the space, but we decided that putting 2 upholstered chairs and 2 wood chairs gave it that really curated look. Then we put some more fabric on the windows and on the floor. We added a bench with a throw blanket and some pillows, so you can see every place that we could bring in more texture, we did. We put a lot of artwork in. We added a floor lamp and a more robust chandelier above the table. And we used a lot of black accents in the room. So one of the other things we did in this room is we used a really big piece of art on one wall and a collection of smaller pieces above the buffet. So sometimes it's a good idea to mix a big piece in one space along with some smaller pieces on another wall. And we added even more texture by putting some bamboo shades in here with the curtains. So now you can see quickly how we pulled together the room using 3 steps. First, figuring out the floor plan so we know the right sizing of the pieces. Second, taking a look at the inspiration and colors. And third, tying all the pieces together on a mood board to make sure they work before you spend any money. These 3 steps prevent you from buying pieces that don't really coordinate. So if you're looking for someone to help you with this kind of mood board, check the link below, and I'll see you in the next one.